How much does it cost annually to attend university? These days, UK and EU students are required to pay £9,250 a year just to attend university, trying to improve their life, but being in severe debt by the end of it. Then you add in the fees of UK housing. It's estimated to be at least 22 grand a year. Outrageous, if I'm honest. University students can hardly ever get a good job because they have a lack of work experience. How does that work then? We'll be stuck in an endless cycle, or a conundrum. You need work experience for a job, but to get a job, you need work experience. Then what about food, clothes and textbooks? Textbooks are costing of upwards £240. You obviously need multiple. You could end up spending £2,000 on them in total, possibly costing up to £11,000 on education alone. Then you have the very controversial former Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who pocketed £150k a year as Prime Minister and still makes loads of money from doing just an odd speech here and there and being on holiday for most of his time. Meanwhile, all these students are living off chicken and mushroom pot noodles and Nesquik chocolate milk just so they don't end up begging for a ham and cheese panini on a street corner in the middle of Peterborough. And why do only Scottish people get university free? How are they different enough to not worry about ending up in 30 grand worth of debt after 3 years of learning, potentially 4? University should be free for everyone. Isn't it obvious why so many students drop out? Is it because they want to go back to living happily with their parents and getting free bolognese dinners, or that the work is just too much? No, it's because they're forced to pay over £250 grand for a degree. They'll probably end up living in their parents' loft for the next 30 years. Are you forgetting the human right? You have the right to an education. University is an education. And if you want to go to university and further your career in education, you're forced to pay that much just to get a piece of paper saying you did it and a higher chance of getting other jobs. It's technically suppressing our human rights. And no, I'm not trying to sound like a middle-aged Republican American woman who refuses to wear a mask in a shop just so we can see her bright orange lipstick and fake tan. It's just basic human knowledge. Isn't it obvious why there is a severe lack of workers nowadays? Because of the work experience and job getting conundrum. What will end up happening in the world if we end up with a significantly low number of workers in the future? I'll tell you what, we'll end up as a barren dystopian wasteland by 2040, and not just because of the rising global temperatures, which a lot of people will no doubt lose interest in the moment Sir David Attenborough bites the dust. Also, what do you do about the cost of living crisis? If these students are getting into deep debt and having to keep up with living expenses while dealing with other expenses like food, clothes, entertainment, car things, insurance, medication, pets, furniture, etc., then what will happen? Also, if they have this debt, then their last priority will be starting a family, especially since Katie Hopkins told them off for having kids because they can't feed them, meaning less children are being born and the UK will slowly get a much lower population over the years. This would then therefore make the UK a struggling country with a poor economy, one worse than we already have due to the impacts of Brexit. All because Sir Nick Clegg had to rise university costs. How could Nick Clegg even be knighted after doing this to the country's future? He's got the highest title that could be bestowed upon him when he's just lied to us all. Some of these people could have done much better things, but he's just potentially destroyed it for them. People get knighted for years of television broadcasting, or for great political and public service, not for lying. And you can't even use the argument of they need to maintain the facilities and standards of teaching at the university. That's what taxes are for. If they're not spent on improving education and other things like that, then what are they on instead? The Prime Minister's next child-sized suit? Why has the UK come to having these truth distorters in charge of their finances, education and healthcare? Matt Hancock, former Health Secretary, got caught cheating on his wife for 15 years on camera, while breaking the rules he put in place. Rishi Sunak, current PM, when he was Chancellor of Exchequer, essentially the tax man, his brainless wife didn't pay her taxes. Nick Clegg told everyone that if he won the election, he would not raise tuition fees in 2011. Then they claim they're sorry. Clegg's exact words were, "We made a pledge, we did not stick to it, and for that I am sorry." That does not cut it, Nicholas. He lied to the National Union of Students and simply got away with it while being Deputy Prime Minister. All he said is what he did and that he was sorry. Sorry is something you say when you bump into someone on the pavement, not when you steal 30 grand from young adults just so they can learn more about 19th century poetry. This is the near future you're affecting. You're not only taking an obscene amount of money from them, but you're taking their chance to be young. These people, aged 18 to 19, want to live life while they still can enjoy life, but they're having to do all this studying, all this work, and have jobs just to take out multiple student loans at the end. And it affects these younger teenagers, 13 to 16, because they have that looming threat of universities. And children from poorer families will have to get jobs just to save up a small bit to pay for their university, since they'll hardly get anything from their financially struggling family.